To worship or not to worship? That's the question the Jehovah's Witnesses have laid before us today. And I wanted to look at a variety of Bibles to see what exactly we're supposed to do when it comes to Jesus. Are we supposed to worship him, or are we supposed to do obeisance to him? Well, to understand the word for worship, we have to look at the Greek word, which is proskuneo, and I want to compare how all of these Bibles take the word proskuneo in comparison with how the New World Translation, the Jehovah's Witnesses Bible, how it translates the word proskuneo. When I look at all of these Bibles, it says proskuneo is worship. But when I look at this Bible, it takes the word proskuneo and it says it's to do obeisance to. Well, that term, do obeisance, is not something we use much in English today. It's actually a term that is kind of like give honor or respect, something that you would give a king or you would give a president, someone of high stature. You would just show them respect and honor. Worship, we know, is a much more deep word where, well, as Bible believers, we know only one receives worship, and that's God. So if all these Bibles are right and Jesus should be receiving worship, well, that is saying Jesus is God, because the Bible's saying that Jesus should be worshiped. But if this Bible's right and that we should just be giving Jesus obeisance, well, then he's just someone of higher stature than us. Well, let's look at what this Bible says with the different passages that apply the word proskuneo to Jesus. There's 7 of them, and I want to look at each one real briefly. Matthew 2:2 is when the Magi were looking for Jesus. It says, "We have come to do obeisance to him." When the Magi found him in Matthew 2:11, it says they did obeisance to him. Later, when Jesus was in the boat with his disciples, it says those in the boat did obeisance to him. In the book of John, it says he did obeisance to him. After Jesus rose from the dead, it says they approached him and took a hold of his feet and did obeisance to him. Later, they saw him and did obeisance. And lastly, in the book of Hebrews, it says, let all God's angels do obeisance to him. So over and over and over, all 7 times, we see this translation of the Bible says Jesus should receive obeisance. But like I said, when we look at all of these other Bibles, they all say Jesus receives worship. Well, this Bible claims to be the Bible that's a consistent Bible translation, one without bias, and one we can really rely on. So it's kind of making a claim for itself, basically claiming every other Bible ever written throughout the centuries is wrong, while this Bible here is right, and it's consistent and true and trustworthy. Well, to test that, we can look at how proskuneo, if it was applied to anyone else, like Jehovah, was proskuneo applied to Jehovah, and how do they apply it? Well, there is a couple passages where proskuneo is applied to Jehovah, and we can take a peek and see what it says about them. And we look at Matthew 4:10. It says, "It is Jehovah your God you must worship." That must have just maybe been a mistake. Let's look at another one. John 4:24. It says, "God is spirit, and those worshiping him must worship with spirit and truth." That can't be right. Let's look at another. 1 Corinthians 14:25. "Fall face down and worship God." What? Revelation 15:4. "For all the nations will come and worship before Jehovah." So this Bible that's claiming to be consistent and unbiased is taking the exact same word, proskuneo, and it applying it differently for Jesus than it would for Jehovah? How are we supposed to receive that? And the question I have, friends, is as a Bible scholar, who's someone who wants to know the truth, someone who doesn't want to just blindly listen to a denomination or an organization or a group of people, who just wants to know the truth. Am I supposed to, in all honesty, am I supposed to believe what a stack of Bibles, every Bible I know of, says? Am I supposed to believe that when it's consistent with the word proskuneo? Or am I supposed to believe one translation in comparison to all the translations that have ever been written throughout the centuries, throughout the different continents and languages and different scholars? Am I supposed to reject all that for one translation that tells me it's consistent but really isn't?